Hey everyone, today we're live from Hannover Messe, one of the world's largest industrial trade fairs in Germany, featuring over 130,000 visitors from more than 150 countries, around 4,000 exhibitioning companies. I've picked one clear highlight for today's episode. We are cutting through the hype, talk about Gen AI use cases on industrial shop floor with Schunk as an example. But first, let's have an exclusive statement of Onura Okbukagu, the official spokesman of Deutsche Messe AG. It's an honor to have this specially for us today.
What you guys do at IoT Use Case Podcast is what you can witness here on the trade fair. We have like the whole digitalization companies from Google, from Microsoft, but also small specialized software companies. And we have the classical machine building, machine engineering, and both of them coming together. That's what's going to make the future, what's going to make you competitive in the future. And that's what Hannover Messe is all about.
Thanks, Onura. I totally agree. And joining for this episode today is Scott Kemp, the Director of Industry Solutions from our partner SoftServe, a global leader in digital solutions for complex industrial challenges. We'll explore today projects from Schunk, Continental and NVIDIA and talk about what actually works, including some integrations with AWS, Microsoft and Google. And as always, you could find all implementation information at iotusecase.com. Let's go.
Herzlich willkommen beim IoT Use Case Podcast mit Madeleine Mickeleit, dem Kanal mit den aktuellsten IoT-Projekten unserer Umsetzungspartner am Markt.
And with that, hi Scott.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have you here at Hannover Fair. It's crazy to be here on site. So how is your day going?
Yeah, I mean, Hannover is always such a, I don't know, I guess like the epicenter of manufacturing, right? And it's my third year, Hannover, and it's an exhausting week. But I enjoy it. I go home exhausted, but pretty fulfilled in terms of the conversations I have. So,
what caught your eye so far? Have you had time to have a look out of your booth on the fair so far?
Yeah, we often get kind of stuck into our own little world sometimes. But no, I've already managed to go have a little spy, I say, look around, see what other people are doing. I mean, obviously you're seeing the typical trends that we were forecasting, which was agentic AI, Gen AI, same thing really. But also kind of your more things that have been around for a few years but are evolving in their own way, like computer vision and predictive maintenance, all these quite cool stuff, right?
Yeah. So if you guys are listening up now, you could also check up our LinkedIn. So we do some after Hannover Fair media stuff. So you could have a look what also SoftServe is doing, but also other partners from our network. But when we talk about like SoftServe, I mean, you work with 10,000 global experts supporting industrial clients around, I guess, the whole value chain. And you've helped also with pre-built plug-and-play solution temples, for example, and more. I guess we will talk about this today. Do you have some, favorite IoT projects you're seeing in 2024, 2025? Maybe we could talk a bit about the practice of SoftServe.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been with SoftServe, exactly a year now. My first day was last year at Hannover Messe.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Which was some first day.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a bit of a hidden secret, I would almost say, within the industrial space. SoftServe, once you dig under the website, you actually start to uncover some really cool and interesting stuff, which we do across industries, but specifically in the industrial space, with some amazing customers. And
could you name some?
I can name a couple. So last year we showed a really great solution which we built with NVIDIA, which was with Continental, for the generative AI industrial assistant. Yeah. A really great case study where we're helping them reduce the mean time to repair and help increase the OEE for their equipment. Mm-hmm. I think the result was around 10% increase in OEE, which is fantastic. And we're always happy when our customers are
That's
happy.
Cool. So how was NVIDIA involved in that? So with Omniverse?
Yeah, so again, a bit of a hidden secret, but we're the NVIDIA Partner of the Year 2 years in a row now.
Congrats again.
Yeah, we just got it last week at GTC.
Okay, cool.
So that, comes from years of investment of that relationship. So we've been developing content or developing solutions on top of the NVIDIA stack for a few years now. And that's now kind of with the NVIDIA hype is kind of coming our way, which says a lot. I mean, I think we do this quite often. We invest in as a kind of like research investment. to see if technologies will flourish. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. It works out. And with them, we approach the customer to say, okay, what is the problem that you want to solve? And we kind of then work backwards to what technologies would be able to help. And that was an opportunity to use generative AI in that case to help, well, a number of problem statements that they were facing on the production floor. So that was really cool. Yeah.
On Hannover Fair, you're showing this great use case together with Schunk. Can you give some insights about that? Because I'm really curious to learn more about that, as we are kind of focusing also today on manufacturing.
Yeah, machine builders. Well,
machine builders. Sorry.
We see, like, I think we see two sides of the coin, right? So you have obviously companies that are large enough who see it within their core business to run their production and keep machines, maintained and up to speed, etc.
Yeah.
And then we often see sometimes the other side, which is machine builders who are looking to, increase, say, their revenues by serving additional services to their end customers.
Yeah.
So, and that's the case where, Continental versus Schunk, Continental were aiming to do that themselves on their production line, where Schunk are then looking at, well, how can we help our customers? And that's where we then, again, worked with Schunk in a very similar problem statement to help them serve their customers using a generative AI solution to enable their customers to run their own maintenance tasks on their machines.
Before we come to the problem statement, let's hear directly from Optotec Optic Maschinen GmbH. They are part of the Schunk group, what they're showing on site. And the expert giving us the interview here is product owner, IoT and digital solutions, Vineet Vellapart.
So Optotec is basically focused on creating optical machines, and we are here in Hannover Messe showing SM80, and the machine focuses on grinding, and it is one of the main machines that are used in connecting into our IoT platform. We here are showcasing the IoT use cases with AI, specifically on parameter analysis, manual assessments, and information siphoning, and also to get explanations for failures. Normally in optical industry, we focus on the machine and the user, and when there is some kind of an error, they have to be in place. So what we try to do is we try to create an IoT use case from this, that we take, for instance, the overrides, the spindle parameters, and then we have the IoT use case that we create with SoftServe together. So here you can see, for instance, the live machine that is connected in launch spa. And here you can also see different parameters like spindle and overrides. Currently, the machine is simulated in off position, but generally you can see what amount of machine is currently on running time, what is in manual time, and stop time. And for instance, look into what kind of errors are being created. With the ability of AI, you can directly create query that you want to see what the error means. So you know that it's an error, but exactly what error is it? The explanation is given with a cause, effect, and knowledge, and what kind of remedy you have to do.
Thanks, Vineet, for this statement on site from Hannover Messe. And if you want more information about this, please find the link to the connected machine and the digital solutions, as well as a LinkedIn profile in the show notes. But back to the project. Scott, how did you work together with Schunk here, and what was the scope of this project?
Yeah, so a lot of that starts with how we worked with them to develop an IoT platform. The CIO at Schunk is often referred to it as their team is responsible for building the road, and then the machines and other people who want to plug into that can drive on that road, kind of like an Android system for applications, provide the foundations and then to innovate on top. And that's where we work with them to develop a holistic IoT platform to help connect all of the equipment that they had globally. And that's really important because that really lays the foundations for then generative AI to be sat on top of.
Yeah.
And that's then, that's a hard task because they have a wide variety of machines, different types of products, aging, different lengths of time, and also different protocols, different, standards in place. And then they've also bought companies through acquisition.
Yeah.
So they've also had to then integrate their systems into place. So developing a singular IoT platform to give them the visualization or the visibility into all machines globally is really important to lay that foundation for then to do the more fun stuff like generative AI.
You explained the problem statement, or you're just opening up this topic. So, what is the actual business need here? What problems are you solving? Maybe you could talk about this problem statement from Schunk here.
Yeah, so I mean, again, kind of comparing Continental and Schunk, there's a lot of similarities as to the problem statement, and that's kind of an industry-wide problem where there is, as we've seen and talked to a lot of our customers, quite a knowledge attrition. So either the aging workforce that knows how to maintain a machine or do a changeover with a blindfold on and their hands behind their back in 5 minutes is not there anymore. Yeah. They're retiring, they're being hunted and taken to other companies. And the problem statement is often, well, how do we get our younger, less experienced engineers to operate at not just the same speed, but the same capability, right? Yeah. For them to be able to execute tasks, to standard on equipment, which and also equipment is getting more and more complicated. It's not just like an old Land Rover, you can just kind of take some screws and nuts and put it back together. Right. A car's example, or a great example there. To get to a light bulb, you need to take 5 things out. It's the same for machines. They have more electronics inside them, more programming, and this makes everything just harder. Yeah, right.
So do you have a specific example here how, for example, Schunk or other companies are addressing that in the practice?
Yeah, so we give examples from Schunk and also look at other customers that we work with. So again, looking at IoT data as a foundation, we can use that, and we can put together then the structured data from vibration, temperature, pressure sensors, etc. We can bring together then unstructured data, so SOPs, PDFs, etc. And we can even bring in information from, say, MES systems or ERP systems, and we can bring this all together and then feed that into a generative AI model through a RAG model, which we refer to. Yeah. And the ability to do that in the different types of data and expose that to someone to be able to get their hands on quicker is essentially the value statement that generative AI brings. It's just getting information faster. Yeah, right. And then the cool thing is then when you start to bring that together with, say, your more traditional AI models, like a predictive maintenance model, when you bring them in all into the same environment, you can start to ask very interesting questions. You could say, when is this pump likely to fail? Yeah. And then from that, making that prediction, you can then convert from the predictive state into the action state. And that action state is where then you can use generative AI to ask questions like, well, what's the reason for that prediction? Yeah. And it's giving you then the vibration data from the past 2 days and saying, okay, this decision is being driven by this behavior. And then you're able to say, okay, well, now how do I actually go fix this? And it's pulling then from a different data repository from the SOP documentation. Yeah. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, etc. And then guiding the operator through that problem statement. And that's kind of where generative AI can sit as a single-faced interface to be able to execute all tasks together. Right. Which is very cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, and also maybe to add something from the practice, we were talking about, for example, maintenance cycles, which are pretty clear as a rule today. So, for example, you have every 1,200 hours an oil cycle or an oil change, for example, which is set it up by a rule from the company. So that's the one thing. And then I'm wondering how preventive maintenance can be replaced, for example, by an AI-based algorithm to do that, because in the practice we see these standard rules to you have to change it by 1,200 hours, for example. So that's it. But now we are changing this whole system, right?
So that comes down. I joined a maintenance event in Amsterdam earlier in last year, and it was really interesting listening to how the experts in that industry are really approaching that topic. Yeah. You have different types of classifications. Some things you run to failure on purpose because they're low value and they're not critical. If it breaks, it breaks. It doesn't matter. Right. Some things you want to have a preventative because you cannot afford to let that fail. And then there are really high value assets,
Yeah.
which you want to then run these algorithms on to try predict. And that prediction enables you to do things in your terms. And this is where then I often talk about predicting, optimizing, and prescribing. And this is what AI often enables you to do is first of all, instead of firefighting, which often we do in operations quite a lot, we're able to predict what is going to happen to us into the future, which puts us in the control. We're now in control of the situation.
Yeah. So are there any best practices, for example, how to do the classification on the data? Because some data is maybe critical and for a specific failure and some not. So do you guys have any experience on how to structure that data into critical happenings, I would call them, and how not? So how do you do that? Because as you're mentioning, I mean, it's in the head of so many people who are the expertise in this process. So how would you do that in the practice to set up?
Yeah, predictive maintenance is a bit of a science at times.
Yeah.
There's often, I mean, kind of an 80-20 rule sometimes. There's 3 or 4 data feature sets which are going to drive the reason for failure, which will probably cover a large variety of your failures.
Yeah, okay.
And you'll understand, okay, well, vibration does this or temperature does this. We're going to likely see a failure in a week or 2 weeks' time looking at our historical data from, say, 1 to 2 years worth of data. Increasing the accuracy of that then becomes a little bit where you have to then be a bit more creative. You might look at external temperatures, so like how an asset runs in Germany versus, say, in Brazil. The temperature outside of the building or in the working environment are very different.
Yeah, right.
So assets behave very differently.
Yeah.
Or you might look at MES data to understand what has been run at that time. You might be looking at other types of data where you didn't think there would be a correlation.
Yeah.
But actually, there is quite an impact in certain scenarios as to what is driving the failure cause.
Right.
And that's where AI enables you to go beyond often what humans can do and take a wider look at different data.
Complex look in every section. Yeah.
Exactly. In this scenario, that was actually quite critical, which is quite interesting. And we can look at often different types of assets as well, pumps, centrifugal systems, etc. And they all behave in certain ways, and we can re-templatize that and use it then again when we look at a different type of pump.
Okay. A lot of our community members are asking, like, who actually pays for these systems? Or also, how should I talk with the customer about that? And how do I monetize like the AI generated insights? So that's, I guess, a big topic. Has Schunk solved that already, or other customers? Or is it like an ongoing thing to talk with customers now as a partner and develop those things? Or what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're talking to a customer, you have to really go in and understand the nuances of their business, right? You have to essentially become, I often say, I try to be part of their company. I think of myself as an employee almost within their company. And deep diving into the production floor, because often some people think they understand the problem statement, but then you go speak to the line operator, and the situation might be very different. So, or the maintenance engineer or someone else. So the ability to go down onto the granular level, ask the right questions and understand, is this a real problem that we're trying to solve? And then you can start to articulate what the business value potentially could be. So you put on thesis or you're asking your customer in the workshop and then... Yeah, we take a few different approaches. One approach, I mean, obviously AI is quite a buzzword at the moment, and a lot of people just want to talk about AI, and we're like, okay, we can talk about it, but let's try to talk about the things which have real potential or value. And one approach is double diamond thinking, which is essentially where you start with a kind of spread the net of ideas, sit down together in a room and think, this could be interesting or this could be interesting. And then on the other side of that diamond, we come back down towards, okay, let's reprioritize and say 1, 2, or 3 things are necessarily important, and try to assign a business value to that, so that you can say this actually
put a number behind that.
Exactly. And then you get back into the other side of the next diamond, which is then let's go actually build the proof of technology. We try to avoid POCs because there's nothing conceptual anymore. There's very little conceptualization anymore. This is very much proof of things that have been done before. And that's where we do that proof of technology over 3 months. to then ensure the business that there is value in that.
Yeah.
And we kind of bring everyone together on that journey. And then it's okay, well, then the other side of that diamond is actually then scaling that out, improving it. And that's the best way from what I've seen to do it. But there's also further depths of analysis that we can do. We've done like digital factory assessments where we use the framework from SIRI, which is the Smart Industry Readiness Index. And that's a 2-day workshop that we run. It's used by McKinsey and the World Economic Forum to evaluate the lighthouse factories. And that's really interesting research because we look at a facility from 16 different dimensions.
Wow.
And we then rank from 0 to 5 the digitization of different aspects. And then you can look at your facility versus 5,000 other facilities globally and baseline your industry peers to yourself.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's really.
I will put it in the show notes, the link, if you can share it afterwards.
I'm a qualified sir, so very proud.
Okay, cool. But maybe to come back also to the point how to communicate these AI outputs. So, for example, I know you need to change the oil, I don't know, because of the complex analyze or a complex AI model, and you have like this great output and recommendation for the customer. How do I communicate this? Do you have any expertise or any like best practices how to communicate these AI recommendation to the end customer?
Yeah, so I think I was talking earlier about kind of the ability to predict, optimize, and prescribe. And the final stage of what you're talking about there is the prescriptional part, where AI is able to contextualize a lot of information and then also then say, well, this is the likely cause of the failure. So go look at this. And it might provide 2 different options, for example. That's often where the human in the loop comes into place, and they have to use their expertise to say either that's correct or not correct, and then actually go and do the investigation to determine if the AI was right or wrong. But then there's that prescriptional stage, which then you have to then take it and then actually go then action it. And sometimes companies trip up in the fact that, technology is not the answer to everything. We know that. Like, I think in some cases, I would say it's 30%. You still have the process part of it. And it's actually, is the company set up to receive a prescription and act upon a prescription? That's the next thing. Is the organization ready to adopt technology? And that's where, again, we work with quite a lot of customers to ensure that they're ready to actually instigate the process, which helps them not only adopt technology, but actually execute upon the technology recommendations, which is another side of the business, another side of the problem statement, let's say.
Okay, maybe last question to the business case side. Who would pay for what? Because a lot of customers, like Continental or maybe other ones, in like Schaeffler, Volkswagen, whoever, they're doing a lot of these use cases on their like plant level side. They could use it. They could solve it on their factory side, but also they need to partner with experts from the component side or from the machines, because I mean they know their machines pretty well. So where would you personally think, or if you have any best practice on that, who is paying for what when?
And that is kind of the problem, almost $1 million question for the enterprises, right? Because enterprises act in different ways in different companies, but often you'll see, especially within a manufacturing enterprise, that they are mini kingdoms, and each plant or facility is its own little kingdom.
Right, yeah.
And you might be able to successfully deploy a technology into one kingdom, but trying to get it to the other kingdoms where they have different budgets and pockets to dip into is another problem statement. So how do you get everyone onto the same page? It changes from company to company, and you need, and that's part of kind of working with enterprises, is that everyone needs to be into the journey. And that's where you need to bring in the IT teams, centralized digitization teams, the factory, but also in tie, is this aligned to the other factories? Or else you're just focusing on one facility.
And then also the decision to integrate cloud, for example, from Schunk or other providers who want to bring in now their data, because they know the machines, they know when to switch the oil, something just stupid example, but that's like also the decision when to integrate these cloud solutions into my own system, because they have all these complex IT architecture, especially in the enterprise area. And then now the question is also how to integrate providers like Schunk or other ones who want to deploy their applications or bring in their expertise. What you're showing also on the side here.
It can vary quite a lot from company to company. Some companies, you can feel their openness to innovate.
Yeah.
Like when you talk to them, they're quite open to ideas. Some companies are quite like, I want to do this myself. Right. And often you might have companies which are taking a kind of DIY approach to it, which you have to be, I think the best companies are the ones that work with open kind of systems and architectures where they're able to plug in different systems and collaborate externally.
Yes.
But also there's kind of like that, well, how do you work with the different stakeholders, the IT department, so they have their own solutions, and never call another person's baby ugly sort of thing. You have to also make sure that everyone is happy. And that's the best way for success. And often as well, when it comes to digital transformation, I always say you have to make it almost feel like someone else came up with the idea. So if you go to an operations team and say, hey, here's predictive maintenance, go use it, it's never going to get adopted.
Sure.
You have to work with them to make it almost feel as though you're all together on the journey, and they're the ones that actually are building it together with you. And then it's their baby, it's our baby, it's everyone's baby, and we raise it together as a village,
It's a new area or a new era of understanding how to work together and also how to work into digital teams, because it's interdisciplinary, and then you have a partnership with, for example, other providers externally, and it's like a new era of thinking.
And there are standards now which enable everyone to play a bit nicer.
Yes.
And it's kind of standards of protocols and APIs, etc. And cloud infrastructures. They're kind of built for everyone to play. So it does help everyone. And I think that's when you look under the surface of what's happening at Hannover Messe. We are obviously, there's a lot of technologies which are coming now, which might not get adopted for a few years. But I think what's interesting here is when you start to actually look at a lot of the people who are talking about, well, how do we create common platforms and infrastructures for everyone to play nicely, which is like, say, OPC UA or unified namespace and all these
these topics.
Which is quite cool.
Thanks for bringing up the technical part, because I want to ask one or two last questions. How SoftServe is helping and what kind of technologies I be aware of. Coming to the last point, I'm always I'm also curious to learn how SoftServe can help. I mean, we talked a bit about this in the beginning, and also when people are listening up, I would put your contact also in the show notes to get in touch with sharing best practices. But maybe you could tell a bit more how SoftServe can help, and maybe we could start with this concrete example with Schunk. So how did you help Schunk and, for example, also Continental in these projects? And then we could make it a bit wider.
I think one of the most beautiful things I've heard from working at SoftServe is we always aim to be technology agnostic. So that means that we'll always do right by the customer. And that's quite true, right? Even if you talk about, ISVs, solution vendors, they say their solutions are out of the box, but realistically, they always take quite a degree of customization because everyone's infrastructure is quite different. So you always have to integrate it into the systems that a customer has. The beauty of SoftServe is that we sit back and we say, okay, looking at your situation, your architecture, this is the best way to implement this solution, which I think is great, because it's not about, say, taking the hammer and trying to find nails. It's, well, this is your situation. How do we make this work, and how do we bring in the right tools to enable you to do it at the price points, at the focuses you have? And as I mentioned with Schunk, I mean, it was they had this quite array of equipment that they needed to build this IoT infrastructure on top of, and that helped us then work with them and Microsoft actually to build that on the Microsoft stack. And then we were able to then bring in the more exciting tools like generative AI on top of that, which is then where things become more interesting.
Okay, so are you bringing in then people and expertise or experts who are setting up these projects, or are you also like providing the software, the software templates, for example, how to set that up? Or
we work in quite a flexible way, I would say. So we have 11,000 people globally, but within that, what we have is centers of excellence who are just like top level experts in their field who know everything there is about IoT. And then we go to our 100 data scientists, and they're the top level like experts on that. And we bring them all together to create this like team, this like crack team, let's call it, to solve the customer problem. And what we also are able to use is we have what we call templates or accelerators, which we have done in the past, and we can then helps us get to that kind of 60% ready state. So when we interact with a customer, we have the problem statement already kind of defined. And we also have the architecture already drawn up.
Like
and
the specifications, API,
exactly,
whatever.
Exactly, the APIs, and we can then quickly build it into the infrastructure of the customer, which helps.
Yeah, okay, nice. And you're also focusing then to use different standards and the technology stack, whatever the customer needs.
And different partners, right? We're quite well partnered with Litmus, who we think I love Litmus's work, you know, like the ability to basically connect into any PLC going.
Okay, cool.
Which is really cool. And we're doing a talk with them actually today or tomorrow. So it'd be fun.
Cool. I will also put that in the show notes. So if you're listening up now, please have a look, and I will put that to listen up after the podcast. So the last question I will go in would be learnings and future topic. So maybe to start, I mean, you've seen now a lot of different projects, and also from your expertise, from your background coming. Do you have any or 2 or 3 learnings where you would want to give, what you want to give others to take away to set up like Gen AI use case based on IoT data?
I'd probably go back a little bit to that double diamond thinking approach, which is, you know, technology first is not the way. You need to go problem statement first.
Yes.
And then kind of go through the process of learning, and then actually then understanding, and then okay, well, this is the technologies that could solve. But technology might not always be the answer. We've worked with lots of customers where it was more process changes, and that's where we've also been able to kind of help them a bit in that. And it's a fusion, right? It's a fusion of the technology and the people all together in one, which is beautiful, let's say. But then also, like I mentioned, the second thing I'd probably say is, well, technology is obviously there. Find out which technology you want to use and try to be built in a kind of an open infrastructure on top of a solid foundation. So we talked a lot about IoT, about data foundations in general, having, you know, cleaning the data, having it, you know, in the right like format to be used, and creating that road for other people to innovate on. And we ran a survey, let's call it, earlier this year, which I can also put in the show notes, where we did a research of, I think it was over 750 AI or industrial experts, and it was more end company directors, etc., and higher, where I think 75% were actually expressing their interest to increase their investments into the foundations of data, to enable them to then scale out the more interesting things like AI and Gen AI, etc., which is necessary. Yeah,
right. Okay, I will put that in the show notes. And then, it's always a chicken egg problem also, because then your one hand side is a business use case where you want to start with and what you do, and then you have also the connectivity side of you. I guess you're calling that foundation. What you mean with that is data acquisition in one, or how to put it in the scalable data acquisition path? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Making the data available to the people, and then kind of federating that data so it's available to. So if someone has an idea, they can go quickly act upon it, which is super important. You know,
right. So
empowering the business teams.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that was the second part, to invest also in the IT infrastructure, to have the business case on the one hand side, and then having also the investment in the scalable IT infrastructure.
Which, as you say, can be chicken and egg, because sometimes the value is driven by that AI application, but you need the foundation. So
and you need to have standard data and the engineering be set it up
which
in the right way.
Which is sometimes the problem that we hear, and it's that's where sometimes the POTs are useful, because they can help you tie both together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and the last thing is about like the future. So, how far will we get from predictive optimization, for example, with Gen AI tools in the future? Do you have any thought about that, where we are standing like 2030, or I don't know, the next 5 to 10 years? What do you think?
So I watched the GTC keynote from Jensen the other week, and obviously they have their vision of where this is all going, and the map that he drew out was Gen AI up to agentic AI, and agentic AI up to physical AI. The agentic AI topic is very interesting. There's a lot of misunderstandings of it. Some people are using multimodal RAGs. Yes, that's obviously interesting, but the complex reasoning part is very interesting, how it's able to jump from system to system, do a lot of the kind of thinking and pre-work, and then resulting back with a very compelling answer, rather than just kind of like a generative AI solution, which gives you one splurge and says, here's the answer.
Yeah.
That, I think, will evolve the performance of those, but they're very compute heavy. So it's going to be a bit of a journey, I think, to get companies ready for that. And again, the foundations are going to be super important, because it has to reason upon several systems, and linking that all together is going to be quite tough.
Yeah.
And then on the next trajectory was the physical AI, and we're already seeing a lot of that coming into place because of our relationship with NVIDIA and how we're training robotics within virtual environments with physics-based simulations. So the ability to understand how physical things interact, whether it be liquids or robot grippers picking up things. Yeah. And I look at it the same way I look at my child trying to learn how to pick up something, and bringing AI models into the simulated environment. It fails to pick things up many times, and then eventually learns to pick them up, and you're like, that's cool. I don't know if that is the next frontier or if it's a direction, but I've been quite taken, and I'm quite smitten at the moment by this kind of, we're seeing like a renaissance of robotics, I call it, and they're becoming extremely scarily smart, which is quite cool. So I'm enjoying that, but that's kind of then the fusion of that virtual and physical world is becoming quite interesting.
Okay, cool. That sounds like another episode. We could dive in. Definitely when you see anything working in the practice, we have to talk again and then focus how to set up these or similar use cases. So so thank you so much, Scott, for your time today. I found it very valuable to have some insights also for our listeners. And if you're working on a similar challenge now, want to explore what's possible on your company, then please get in touch with Scott. I will put your contact in the show notes, and also you could check out softserveinc.com, right? Okay, so please check that out. Thank you for your time. And I would also give the last word to you. Maybe you want to add something, but from my side, thanks that you've been here and that we could record on site at Hannover Fair.
Yeah, excited to hear. And if you're here, give us a shout. Last words. I mean, as I mentioned, try to raise the baby together, let's say. It's a strange analogy.
So have a great week. Bye. So, das war's mit dieser Folge. Ich hoffe, du konntest ein paar spannende Einblicke für dich mitnehmen oder auch neue Aspekte. Abonniere gerne den Podcast, falls du es noch nicht gemacht hast. Immer mittwochs um 11 kommt eine neue Folge raus, und schreib mir auch sehr gerne für Feedback oder falls du Ideen für neue Use Cases hast. Ganz liebe Grüße, euer Host Madeleine.